Well, one of the
Like I
biggest dreams, I think, for me, connected to FounderCon, is to be a resource hub for startup entrepreneurs, where not only are they going to get through the school that we're going to develop their ordination and minister's licensing, but they're also going to be able to have a launched business after the duration of being a part of it. But with that, like completion, they now have an opportunity to sit above a board or with a board of founders who are going to seed fund their dream. Because this is how we have to work together, and nobody is willing to ask. People are going to banks that are constantly denying them, or they're going into debt to build a business, when there are people who have that resource of finances who can help steward you as the visionary or the integrator into your greatest zone of genius and excellence. And so that's what I'm like looking forward to, because as we start to create this fund, there's going to be so many people with way different backgrounds than I have, but they're all founded in Christ and they want to see other entrepreneurs thrive. So it's a really cool, it's a really big vision, and it's going to be neat to see how it evolves. But to know that I know there is only an opportunity for us to do this together, like there is no separate entities, sometimes
mm,
can make it difficult, because just like you, like developing a worship team or experiencing the upper echelon, like business integration of a church, there are so many different personalities. There are so many different talents and gifts, and sometimes they overlap. So there can be friction. And
yeah.
the biggest thing I've learned is like laying down the titles, which is why I love founders so much, is there's no titles in founder. It's just, we are founders,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I don't care what role you play. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're coming to the conference and you're not the CEO, I don't really care, because really everyone's CEO is Christ anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's really good. Like that's hard. Like that overlapping personality thing. You know what I
For
mean?
sure.
Like it could definitely like I like sometimes my Malin has to talk to me and tell me like, well, you think a different way than a
Yeah.
lot of people. Like certain things just don't bother you, right? Like I have a high pain tolerance. You
Yeah,
know
yeah,
what I'm
exactly.
saying? Like we were just talking about that. And so like I might not be noticing something and somebody else is noticing. And I'm like, why are they so bothered by that? Let's just
Yeah.
move on. It's like, no, that's a real thing. Like you have to talk about that. You have to sit in it sometimes.
Yeah.
And then the other part is like sometimes somebody needs to say, like, no, we're not going to sit here in that because we
Right.
can move on from that and
Right.
keep going. You know what I mean? Like
Goes
it's
back to
it's
the shears, right? They're sitting in
yeah,
the sheer experience of their life, and they're
yeah,
just like,
yeah,
look at all of my broken clips, right? Look at my
yeah,
brokenness. And it's like, no, 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 but look what new is growing because you let
yeah,
go and you let those parts die.
yeah.
I don't want to even see a picture of myself 3 years from now, or 3 years back, I should say, that I look the same. And I know,
Yeah.
like, my pre-Jesus season to who I am now, I look at pictures and I'm like, oh, that poor child.
Like
Like
I
I
don't even know
literally,
who that is.
I
Like who was
don't.
that
I
guy?
don't. And
I
so
mean, yeah,
I don't, even though I am walking with the Lord now, I am still becoming every single day. And so I don't want someone to see me and say, oh, you look exactly the same.
right.
Right. And you look, I'm saying not necessarily in a physicality perspective, because clearly we're changing that way every day, but your life looks the same. Your favor looks the same. Your fruit looks the same.
Well,
I don't want that. I don't want my fruit to be the same as it is now 3 years from now. It better not
yeah,
be, because that means I'm not actually abiding.
yeah. We're not going from glory to glory. We're not understanding. We're not getting wiser. We're not getting
Yeah.
closer to Him. Like we're just staying the same. And for me, staying the same is not good enough.
Mm-mm.
Staying the same.
And how sad, because you see people, and I have a really big ministry towards women specifically who are upward echelon of 50, 60, 70 years old, and they're in that place. They've been living the same exact year over year
Mm,
over year. And that's not God's plan for you. That's not his will for you. And so they're striving to find purpose now. And I don't think it's ever too late. I surely
yeah,
have seen people take ownership of that at a latter part of their life, and it has flourished and it's done exactly what it's intended to do. But I just recently was studying Mother Teresa through a book called Thirsting for God. And she has like all of these different clips of speeches that she shared, and someone's narrating it based on her life. And she was sold out for Jesus. And she just talked nonstop, like, it's not me, it's Jesus. It's not me, it's Jesus. And that woman was broke, like literally from a financial lens, didn't have what you would imagine somebody who is opening orphanages and ministries around the world would have, but she never went without. And you're basically saying the same thing when it comes to, like, I don't have to worry about money because it's going to be there. That's the manna.
Yeah. Yeah. Step right into it. Like trust him. And I know that's a hard thing for a lot of people. But I've seen like people that had absolutely nothing and walk through this season where they had lost everything. I mean, I've lost everything, but,
Yeah.
you know, and just saying like, okay, Lord, I trust you.
Yeah.
Like, where are you taking me? What am I doing? And to be steadfast and unmovable, rightly divided.
Hmm.
And as you do that, then like you stop trusting in the constructs of our westernized Christianity
Mm-hmm.
and start trusting in him and understanding in him you live and move and have our being. I think that we trust our society more than we trust the Lord,
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
right? And so that when we do that, then it makes us really nervous when all the things are happening and we see these news reports and stuff like that. But when we start
Yeah.
trusting, leaning not into our own understanding, in all our ways acknowledge him, he will direct the path. Then all of a sudden we start walking it out, and then we're not afraid anymore.
Yeah. And
Right?
we look
Okay.
so subculture, anti-culture, whatever, we look counterculture, right?
Yeah,
We're
and everybody's
supposed to
looking at us like,
not
"What are you
look.
doing? Yeah, what?
We're
Why
not
are you so
supposed to go
happy?"
with the grain, right?
Yeah.
We're
I mean, like a
not.
lot of people at COVID, me and my wife got closer. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I'm like,
yeah. And some people, a lot
things,
of people got
things
divorced.
happen. It sucked. COVID sucked. Being in
Yeah.
the house all the time was horrible.
God.
But what came out of it for my family, I
Yep.
had to trust God.
Yeah. It's a treasure.
I had to trust God.
Yeah. I love that. As we were speaking, I was thinking about how it can appear that the visionary is more important than the integrator. And I never want anyone to think that,
That's
again, we
good.
talked about lack of hierarchy. First off, an integrator has a divine gift and a visionary has a divine gift. Both of us are underneath Christ. We are not
Mm,
underneath one another. We are serving in communion. We are at the same table, right? And the only person who gets the head is God. And so while someone might sit there for a conversation, or they might sit there because it's their house, or they might sit there for it's their community or whatever that be, there is no construct. And so even building like an organizational chart, it's like, I get it. You need systems, but ultimately the strategy is, did you hear from the Lord to do that thing? Is that something the Lord is calling you into? Because otherwise you go back to that chart, that big leap concept of zone of incompetency. You're going to be chained into something you're not meant to be. And we don't exist in a society of slavery. We do. There's tons of slavery happening all around us, but not in the kingdom.